Welcome back, Pushin Performance family. Made it to episode 50. Shout out
50.
us for making it to the big 5-0 special occasion. Thank you to everyone who's been listening, who's been rocking with us since the jump, or if you're a new listener, we love it. We love having you. But JT, what did we get into today? We had a little bit of a different format here.
Yeah, we had a fun one. We chopped it up, caught up with each other's lives a little bit, with some randomness in between for the first 10 or 15 minutes or so.
A lot of recovery talk.
A lot of recovery talk. We get into what we're doing in our own training, in our own lives within that, and just kind of what we've been added into our routine from a life standpoint. So, yeah, hopefully everybody gets something from it.
Yeah, some good nuggets, some good tips. But let's get to the episode.
All right, let's do it.
Never been on Twitch.
Nah, I mean, my buddies did it a while back, and I just popped in. And I don't know, but I don't really do it regularly. What is it?
Yeah, it's just like a streaming platform. Like people just live stream. Mostly gaming. It's mostly gaming. But there's other things on there too.
Really?
You know, pop in a hot tub stream.
What?
That's just
What are
a
you
bunch
talking
of girls in a hot tub. I don't know. I've never been on one. I have
Really?
no idea what it is. Yes.
Are you sure you're not talking about the OF, the fans?
They probably do it there too.
Twitch.
But Twitch is PG-13, I think. So
Hey, I think we got to hit that market up, man. Let's Twitch it up.
Hot tub, Pushin Performance hot tub stream in Arizona.
Not hot tub. Do cold tub. It's a little bit more specific too.
Be a 3-minute show. I'd much rather do a hot tub stream.
What are you talking about right now?
Yeah, I still think, and some of this is personal bias, but hot tub is infinitely more beneficial than a cold tub. I'll die on that hill.
Why say that?
I think it's just like, one, it's more relaxing, helps you down regulate. Two, it keeps blood pumping, helps the blood flow. It just feels better.
Isn't it basically two different types of recovery though? Because I would agree, it's not relaxing at all. I think people, I don't know. It sounds like people almost bucket it into like one thing now. Like this is how you recover: hot tub and or cold tub. Where it's like, I don't think you know what you're talking about, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's, yeah. I'd say both are overrated.
Really?
Yeah, I think everything for recovery is overrated.
It's fair. I mean,
other than sleep and eating, I think everything's probably pretty overrated.
Man, I have so many thoughts on that, bro. Because it's like, I agree, I get it, but it's the whole thing of like, losing weight is overrated, or wanting to lose weight is overrated. Where it's, I don't think that should be the main goal.
I don't think that's overrated. I think that's fine.
I take that back. It's more of like, I think the reasons why people train initially is overrated, but it's like what gets you in isn't what keeps you in. Same with like recovery. Like if people want to buy some boots, Normatec boots for $1,000, that gets them locked into thinking about more recovery than essentially sleep, I'm good with that. You know?
I feel like, I don't know, at least in my experience, I feel like what gets you in doesn't keep you in makes sense for goal setting and stuff. Right. And I've seen it a million times. It works really well in CrossFit, where it's like, or in like good adult gyms or even athlete gyms where you're doing like some good quality strength conditioning, where it's like, I come in because I want weight loss, but then I stay because I like the community, and I stay because I like the challenge, and I stay because I like getting better at something. And you set other goals along the way. And like, I think that's powerful. But at least in my experience, it's like people are looking for the Band-Aid and never, ever, ever planning on addressing the main thing. So it's like, yeah, I'll buy Normatec boots, or I'll buy a Hypervolt gun and hope that this is the thing, but I'm not gonna address my sleep. I'm not gonna address my nutrition.
And that's another problem too. I agree, but I think with a coach there, I think it's a good way to like get them in, like buy in a little bit. Like if I'm not gonna, I don't know, there's a lot of people I've worked with, and if I tell them like, let's sleep better, they know that, but it's like, okay, maybe a little hypervolt will get them bought into like the effects of it, and then like, oh, okay, maybe this is going to be a place to start. I don't know. That's I've been thinking about that a lot too. I'm like, I get it. Sleep is important, nutrition is important, but like as a coach, it's really hard to. There's a lot of other ways I think we can start to explore how to get somebody into the big rocks than just starting with the big rocks. Because like people know, man, people know they need to sleep
That's
better. People
fair.
know they need to
Yeah.
drink water. And if we do that, is that really gonna? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I think yeah, but yeah, and it's up to us to have that plan in motion. And kind of like try to set that with them, and with the goal of being down the road. You know, you're gonna eventually do the things that actually make a difference,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually have an effect, like that actually make a change. Like, yes, some of the percussion therapy stuff, yes, some of the normal tech stuff, like has a really, really, really small effect size. A lot of the benefit is placebo, which I'm not gonna knock. Like, if you like it, keep rocking with it, 100%. But when you look at like reducing injury risk or improving performance, like there's nothing touches sleep and fueling.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, but I think that's probably a good call out. Like, what are what? How many avenues do we have to get to sleep and fueling without just starting there?
Yeah, for sure. And I think this, funny enough, lines up well with what we were going to talk about anyway, in terms of like, what we've added to things. And for me, like I've been thinking about a lot of things of what I'm trying to change my mind on. And
Mm,
one of those things is as a coach, like knowing that the big rocks is where I want to get my clients to be.
yeah.
A lot of it that I've been doing isn't working. Of like, oh, I know this person needs to sleep better, and if I just tell them like, hey, you need to sleep better. Here's some things that you can do. Shut off um, electronics 30 minutes before bedtime. Turn off all the lights. A lot of it's not working, and that's part of me. But it's like, what else can I do to get them bought into like ultimately getting their body to recover better? Is
Hmm.
maybe it's just like foam rolling for a little bit, or hitting the hot tub, if you will, for 5 minutes, and then they start to feel like what I'm trying to get them to feel anyway, and hopefully that's something later down the road that they can be explorative with. But I don't know. What are your thoughts and with at least recovery? That's been top of mind. I don't know. Maybe it's the age thing with us.
It's not recovering like you used to. Yeah, I've always taken the path of like trying to really understand what their actual barriers are. Like, is it knowledge? Is it motivation? Is it skill? Like, where's the block? Is it a time thing?
Yeah.
Like, for you specifically, where's the block, and can we like find the smallest worthwhile change that we can make? So if it's sleep, my go-to for everyone, for the most part, with sleep is just getting a sleep mask. Like, they're like $10 to $20 on Amazon. It's easy to do, and that has had a huge effect on me. So my go-to for literally everyone to start, for the most part, is just buy a sleep mask. Like, super low barrier to entry. You know, you like said, like you're buying something that's easy, low activation energy. You just literally put this thing on your nightstand, you put it on, and hopefully fall asleep a little bit faster. But beyond that, it's like, where can we start to input something or take away something that's going to have a positive effect? So like, is it adding protein to every meal? Is it, for a lot of folks, just eating a pre-workout snack and a post-workout snack? Is it doing something like a foam rolling, or something like a meditation, or something like something that's relaxing? Maybe it's a hot tub, maybe it's a hot shower prior to bed, right? That's going to allow you to kind of unwind, down regulate a little bit, relax. Like, that's kind of always been my go-to type of strategy. Like, yeah, for sure,
Mm.
there's definitely been clients who have gone the route of, you know maybe it's a hypervolt, maybe it's a normatech, whatever, and then trying to play around with other things related to recovery. But for me, it's always going back to what's what's like the 80% or the 20% that gets us the 80%. And in
Yeah.
this case, recovery is like the 10% of things that give you the 95% of return on investment with sleep and um, nutrition. And then the other thing I always talk about with coaches is the third piece of the pie is not doing dumb stuff or not doing too much too soon.
Mm.
Like knowing that our recent training history goes a long way to setting the level of what we can actually recover from. So then it's like if you're just smoking people like constantly doing different things and constantly changing volumes and intensities and not giving people an opportunity to adjust. I know Ram talks about the repeated bout effect all the time and for good reason. Because it's like, yeah, working out doesn't have to feel like this. Like I think it's all right to feel that way sometimes, like just absolutely smoke, but like it doesn't have to feel this way all the time. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to, you don't have to hate yourself. Like you just exercise regularly, be like kind of sore, maybe like a little
Right.
fatigued,
Right.
but
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And then when you say that, that quote comes to mind of like we rarely overtrain, we just under recover, and I think there's a lot you could unpack with that. And like when I hear that, it's a lot of reflection on my end. Like shit, I guess I actually don't recover as much as I think I do. But yeah, it's interesting, right? With all this stuff that's coming out right now, I honestly think a lot of anything recovery that that is out that's quote unquote gimmicky, that's expensive or whatever you want to call it. I don't think they hurt. Like they it's literally doing the opposite. Like for me, I'm trying to take the approach of I don't know if I have a client and they're exploring everything else but sleep, I'm gonna lean in with them with that. And I'm like, let's explore everything you want to right now.
mm,
Recovery, boots, hot tub, cold tub, hypervolt, and then when the conversation comes, like, hey, I'm still not. I don't feel like still not plateauing. Have you tried sleep? Like, hopefully those things give them that place of like, okay, maybe this is the time now. They're now open to trying that one thing they don't want to do because they're working so late or whatever
yeah,
the
yeah,
case
yeah,
may
yeah.
be, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of things to really think about. I think the main point of me saying all this and thinking about it is like knowing that the big rocks or knowing what the big rocks are in terms of recovery, at least, is sleep, is nutrition, is drinking enough water. I don't think starting there is always the place we need to start, right? I think it's just a matter of how we get there.
Mm, I want to plan to get there. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
we could go on this forever, but let's get into what we're actually chopping up today, and that is first some things we've added into our training, and second some things we've added into our daily routines. So JT, first off, you back train on the training grind. It seems 100% healthy. So what's been new in the training routine?
I would say 100%. I'd say from a tissue standpoint, they are connected. My Achilles is 100%
I mean, it's
technically.
been connected for some time now.
Yeah. I mean, I say that because it's like there's a lot of things I'm still limited with. For example, like I'm still limited in some dorsiflexion of my ankle, and
Mm,
um, still working on that. But yeah, all that to say, I can work, I can train, I can increase intensity, I can lift heavy things. So yeah, I mean, lately it's been focusing on that, working a lot on lower leg strengthening, um, footwork, as I usually do before, but just increasing the intensity and tempo and starting to hoop a little bit more, man. It's I'm
there
trying
you
to get
go.
into it. I know you've been hitting the rackets, but I'm trying to just
I
hit
haven't
some
seen a basketball in
dribbling,
a while.
do some dribbling. And lately I've been trying to play around with like what gets me neurally activated, what gets my CNS ramped up. Because I've only had like maybe 4 or 5 things that I've just read in books, like here's how you increase your CNS,
Yeah,
or just learn from other coaches. But for me, I'm like, I don't know, some things I've just been doing just because it falls into that CNS bucket, like ramp it up. But what actually ramps me
yeah,
up? So for me, I've been trying to play around with like, okay, maybe dancing. I'm gonna put up
yeah.
some higher beats per minute, put some Sabrina on, and if I'm doing some
Sabrina turned up to 200 beats per minute.
sped up, you know,
Yeah,
Dribbling to that, whatever the case may be. I'm just trying to play around with what actually ramps up my nervous system. Um, and then now it actually helps me do that with my clients as well. Like,
Yeah.
I think let's explore a little bit more of how we can get
Oh
into
yeah.
that, um, strength block. But
We'll
aside from that, man, yeah, what do you think? What if it,
we'll definitely talk about that. We definitely talk about that with Paul Cater, an episode upcoming. But as far as dancing and rhythm and flow and the warm up and things like that. But for me, my go to in the warm up for that specific thing, because I've been training a lot of like 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. training, and just trying to
okay?
be really efficient with my time and get right to moving things fast or lifting something heavy. And for me, I've got one of those old skills balls with like a bunch of little like nubs on it, like the reactive balls, and you drop it and it bounces like any direction based on there's like whatever 8 or 10 little nubs on it. And I'll just like jump around and do that in different positions and kind of catch it with different hands and throw it and catch it on another hand and like play around with different things like with that ball. And I feel like afterwards I'm more or less good to go. Like for most things. Like yes, I'll do some hip specific stuff that I'm working on, but like not a ton, honestly, because again, after doing that, I'm like, yeah, I've explored some different positions. I've had to read and react and like actually focus on something. So that's been a huge one for my nervous system. Just getting like, I actually feel ramped up. I actually feel ready to jump. I feel ready to throw something. I feel ready to sprint. Like just after doing like a 5 minute dose of that, more so than I would, I think, with like just doing like a traditional style warm up,
Interesting.
kind of like you're saying. But I'm curious though, what's the footwork look like? How are you treating the feet?
What do you mean?
Like what kind of stuff are you doing specific to the Achilles?
A lot more because I from the past 3 months, where my Achilles technically been cleared from the doc from a tissue standpoint. You just say go crazy, go with with it and do whatever you need. I've been trying to do more specific tasks and like in terms of training my brain. So for example, I'll do one-legged hops or alternating just bounce left, right, 30 seconds. It's pretty specific, right? Then I'll progress to a single leg next if I feel pretty good next month. I was doing more like single leg hops, 15 seconds, boom, each leg. So now I'm more of like the reactive, kind of where you are things of. All right, let's see if my brain can now connect in time with the muscle
Yeah, yeah,
contractions of like I'm just moving. I'm dribbling, boom, boom. My goal in my head now is to imagine there's a defender, boom. I'm just playing. Now I'm not thinking about my feet. I'm
yeah.
moving my body, but now the constraint is based off of the thing in front of me, right? So my next phase of this is like actually having somebody in front of me and doing it, but it's more of a way for me to really just have different um, ways to contact the floor more reactively to see how I feel after that. So that's kind of what I've been trying to explore and see. Obviously the next day if I'm sore, maybe it was too much my Achilles. But if there's been times where I'm not, I'm like, okay, maybe that was good enough. I think I'm spiking my workload, or not spiking, but slowly ramping up my workload on um, my lower leg pretty nicely when I don't feel any soreness. But one thing real quick I want to mention is like on the work capacity side of
Mm.
things. I've been doing drills like this that I'm mentioning in the warm up, and I'll hit the courts. I'll do like some shots, dribbling drills, but then man, honestly, I played a just a small sided game. First 5 minutes through, I was gassed.
Like
You know,
cardiovascularly.
yeah, because before that I was thinking like, man, I'm doing these drills. Boy, as an hour goes by, set. Now when the small sided game with me and my buddy, we're just doing a knockdown, go to the shot, play some D on me, and go to the rim. It's like that mental component of me thinking now of actually being there is now taking like another portion of my energy. So I was just
Mm.
like gassed by the first 5 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck? things happen.
Yeah.
So
And plus,
it
probably
just
working at a much higher intensity that you've been working at, especially just going by yourself, like having some sort of competition in there too.
right, right, and it's a lot of the mental fatigue that comes with it. Like when you play a game, or let's just say, when you play a game for the first time, you don't know what you're doing or what the sport is. You're more tired than the person that has been playing, right? Because you're thinking a lot. You don't know how the hell you're moving your body. So I think there's a lot to that it reminded me like specific um, work capacity within game setting is different from just doing the work or increasing the work capacity within like a drill that's
Hmm.
controlled. You know,
Interesting. Yeah. Like, would you still say that the drill stuff or just like general conditioning is the foundation for that stuff?
I think it's
Like, it's still
both.
beneficial to that stuff, or
I think it's still beneficial, at least from a muscular endurance standpoint. But from an actual like game session, it's like I think we could all agree that you have to play the game in order to
yeah,
get conditioned in the game, right?
yeah, or something that is at least close to the game.
Right.
So it might not be like for a football example, like we can't run full contact football all the time because people would break. But like, we can run plays. You can run 7-on-7. You can do drills. You can do routes. So you can do routes against a defender. Like you could do things that are like you're kind of doing specific to the sport. Like you're still playing basketball, but it's not a full blown game.
Right. Right. And one thing I've been just exploring with is the mental component in there. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts of like cognitively, like if we're thinking a lot, trying to make a lot of decisions, consciously, that takes up a lot of energy,
I don't
right?
know. I don't know if I really thought about it. Like as you were saying, I was kind of thinking like I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion on it because I've never really thought about it.
Mm,
I'd be curious to see if there's any like actual any research on that and how they quantify it. But like, I'm trying to think about matches I've played recently where I feel like at least early on I've gotten in a lot better tennis shape. Playing a little bit more singles recently. At least hitting around and like by the time I get to the second set, generally always gassed. Even if the first set is like a 6-0 bagel blowout, or if it's a tight one that goes to a tiebreaker.
mm,
Like I get to the second set and I'm just exhausted. That's starting to change a little bit. I'm trying to think like in moments where I'm trying to process more. I don't know. I feel like tennis is kind of tough because you're kind of always doing the same thing. Like
right.
it's never like in a match versus just hitting. It's a tiny bit different, but you're still kind of processing the same information. It's a little bit less tactical stuff when you're just hitting sometimes. Like if you're just trying to rally down the middle or you're doing a specific drill. But I would say for me, I tend to feel the opposite where it's like my physical shape, so like my cardiovascular fitness, my general fitness level, or my tennis specific fitness level gets in the way of my ability to process so much so where it's like I'm so physically exhausted
Mm,
that I can't focus on the ball anymore, right? Or I'm not moving my feet anymore and then I'm not getting a good position to hit the ball. Or I'm not even thinking tactically. I'm just like, this ball's just got to get over the net. You know what I mean? I'm just like, whatever, ball's going over the net, ball's going over the net. I don't care where it lands.
yeah.
Like that's kind of where I end up on the spectrum, but I don't know. I definitely need to think about that more, right? Like
Yeah.
the mental fatigue aspect of like I got to make a ton of decisions here, especially
Right.
being new to a sport or like new to a gym or whatever. Like, man, I'm taking in a ton of stimuli. I don't even know what to process, and then the downstream effects physically from that. Super
Yeah.
interesting.
And that's where my mind goes now, like to take it into the training space. We talk about warm ups a lot, and if we have a new member, we're giving them all this new information of a warm up, you know, and then for some reason they're just like so fatigued. Part of that is the muscular endurance
For sure.
side of things, and also I think they're literally learning, right? They're taking all
Yeah.
this information, and then a few months down the line, they're doing the same warm up. Now they're little bit more fit from a muscular standpoint, but now like mentally they're not thinking about it. So it's like I don't know. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot to that motor loading component and how to consider the energy expenditure of that.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's definitely a rabbit hole worth exploring.
Man, I was trying to reduce my rabbit hole, but yeah, it's I don't know. What about you? Let's shift gears.
Irreducible.
What you been adding into your training? You've been doing a lot of cool stuff.
I played around a ton of VBT. Started working for Output Sports for a little part time, doing some writing for them. And it's been great. Love Output Sports device. Like it's been fun to have that in my training and do a lot of testing and do a lot of monitoring and use it as a tool for training. The biggest things that I've been playing around with, we're using it for contact times and jumping, trying to get some less mushy ankles, and doing a lot of velocity loss stuff, starting to move into a little bit of a hypertrophy phase since I've been away from the weights, just like jumping and sprinting a ton. So I'm taking a break from that stuff as it starts to cool off here on the East
Yeah.
Coast and do some velocity loss hypertrophy work, which has been absolutely breaking me down. I've learned very quickly that I have not been training that hard.
Mm.
And I'm just absolutely destroying myself.
What have you ran a cycle before, or uh, with another type of VBT
Yeah.
device?
Yeah, I've used a couple in the past. Most of them being like Tendo units with the string. So this is
Yeah.
like a linear position transducer that like is just
Mm.
a unit that you hook to your bar or hook to your foot. So like the contact time one's been eye opening for me. You know, I've talked about it a ton, but I'm very mobile. My ankles are very mobile. I spend a lot of time on the ground and my RSI sucks. So I'm not very like my reactive strength is low. So I'm not very bouncy in that regard. And that's something I'm trying to work on just to be a little more fleet of foot on the court, but
Mm.
also like just to just to get better at something. Like it's just, you know, as a coach for me anymore, it's just fun to be like, what do I suck at? And then can I find a really efficient way to improve it? And then
Mm.
just, you know, just experiment a little bit. But even just doing, you know, there's like the 10-5 hop test where you do 10 jumps and it takes your best five and it's supposed to be short ground contacts like a pogo. But even just doing extensive pogos and having something that objectively measures RSI and ground contact time, I was like, oh shit, I'm bad at these. Like I've been doing these wrong in relation to my goal, right? Like, so thinking about, you know, reactive strength, if you look back to Verkhoshansky and some of the older research where it's like, you know, the generally accepted time frame is for like the highest return on elastic strength is going to be less than 250 milliseconds. And all of my ground contacts were like 400 to 500 milliseconds. And I was like, oh, like I'm using a lot of calf, I'm using a lot of quad, I'm using a lot of hip extender, but I'm not using, you know, my Achilles or my patella tendon to its full extent because I'm spending too much time on the ground. And it was even something like even looking at a video of myself doing pogos, I didn't realize that. But it wasn't until having something objective and I was like, oh shit, I'm not training what I think I'm training. So now it like kind of allows me to really zoom in and be like, all right, this is the specific quality I want to train. And now I know I'm training it because I'm keeping my contact times in this range. So then what I've been playing around with is like doing sets of like 20 pogos, probably trying to get somewhere between 60 and 100 contacts 2 times a week. And then I've been doing that for like 2 weeks and I've been slowly decreasing the number and increasing the jump height, while still keeping the contacts low. Because like even like, you know, doing a depth jump, or sorry, even doing a drop jump, where again the goal is as little time on the ground as possible for as high a jump as possible. I couldn't even keep a depth jump under that, you know, 250 millisecond range, and generally speaking, wasn't even really even getting close to it because my reactive strength was just like that bad. You know what I mean? So it was like, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have a way to test it and train it.
Now, going back when you said you were testing your RSI and it was quote unquote bad, that's in reference to a a certain number that you were referencing from, right? To
Yeah.
consider what is good.
Yeah. And again, like, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like for an adult.
Well, the reason I'm asking is like when you say like, okay, if you're looking at video and you were using these muscles that you technically were, is that mainly a motor learning? Oh, I just do this, or are you looking at programming, like you mentioned, and saying like, okay, this is the things I need to start doing more of because when I do the pogos, my body can't is not reacting the way it should. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
Like, can it just be a quick fix of like, oh, let me just do this and let me test it again,
Oh,
or is
for
it like,
sure.
okay,
Yeah, no, for sure. It could be that, right? Definitely, and to a certain degree, it is that. It's like I'm capable of doing it at lower intensities. I just wasn't doing it. So
mm,
it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's quite. I guess it is in that motor learning bucket of trying to kind of understand what it actually feels like. So it is a little bit of a teaching tool, but I just wasn't aware,
right,
right? So there would have been no way for me to find that, and like if it wasn't for like this now new awareness. And I think that's probably the coolest thing about any sort of like training technology is it just helps you become a little bit more aware
sure,
of what's going on so that you can make a decision based on that,
yeah.
right?
No,
Versus
I
just
like
going
that.
off vibes.
I like that because it's we go off vibes a lot,
And
and
again, you have to take the vibes into account. You cannot discount the vibes.
well, aside from that, let's just say we do take the vibe, go off of the vibes. But if we let's just say we do have another monitoring, um, or we have a way to monitor our clients. Let's just say squats, for example, and the
Mm,
way to monitor it is based off of the if I'm trying to think of another device, if we have let's just say a jump mat and we do a non-counter movement jump, right? And here's a certain test, and from what we see in our eyes, they're not reacting to the ground as best they could.
mm,
Now, like uh, we should be trying a simple cue of hopefully that fixes just something
yeah,
to see if it just addresses their motor learning, and then now they're exploding at the floor a little bit more than they did earlier, right? So I guess my thought here goes to like, at what point do we go back to the drawing board and look, man, this maybe we should be programming this instead of that to help with um, the problem that I'm identifying with the monitoring assessment that I just did.
yeah. I think I know what you're saying, and I think it's just taking all the information you have available to you into account, right, and really trying to work through correlations to find a cause, a reasonable cause. We'll never know, right? But like, what's the best guess? And I think for me, I can check some things off the box, right? It's probably not a skill thing. There might be a skill component to it, but it's probably not a skill thing. It's probably not a general strength issue. It's probably not a strength to body weight issue or a weight loss issue. Just looking at like my strength, my strength numbers in the weight room, looking at the height of my counter movement jump, looking at body fat percentage, things like that. Like that's primary. That's probably not the primary contributor. But then looking at all right, kind of going off vibes and kind of going off anecdote, or at least I guess it could be objective because we're looking at ranges and sprinting. But like looking at all right, what's my biggest issue when I sprint? Well, it's my ankle stiffness, right? Where my ankles just dorsiflex like a Gumby, and my heels are just like stapled to the ground when I touch down. It's like, all right, well, that's the same contact or generally similar contact times to what I'm seeing in this hop test. Like that's probably the main thing. And like shout out to everyone who sent me ankle drills and some sort of tendon stiffness or Achilles stiffness protocols to throw down. I've been playing around with a lot of them, but like I think that's kind of the path you go down where it's like, all right, this isn't a quick fix type thing. Like this is a training input type thing. And it's also like looking at the nature of the problem. Like there's but you never know for sure. You rarely know for sure.
Yeah. I guess that's the beauty of it, right? And I think that's coaching in a nutshell. Like, okay, we see this problem. Let me try to say, do, provide constraints to help them solve this problem. And I think the hardest or most challenging part is it how much of how we coach will make the change that we want
Yeah.
at the moment for if it's a specific movement versus looking at the programming of like, okay, maybe they just don't have this quality in order to do the thing that I want them to do.
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, I think it's just a lot of testing, right? We're just weird ass scientists on the field trying to say stuff and
Yeah.
hopefully it works.
Very dirty science. It's not great science. It's very dirty science. Just trying to rule out the noise.
Right.
Try to
That's
get to
interesting. That's interesting.
a best answer that's might be incomplete, but at least gets us
Yeah.
to act, move in the right
Right.
direction.
I don't know how we got into that, but oh yeah, BBT.
But yeah, no. So let's wrap it up with some you've added to your routine. What's new in the outside of the training realm?
I was looking at your notes and I'm doing the same exact thing. So I want to add in something else too that I've been
You
doing.
can tell we could double down on them.
Dude, sleep is something like we just talked or yeah, we just started with in the show is
Yeah.
something I don't know. It's very difficult. As much as we preach how important sleep is,
Why is
it
it
gives
why is it
me
difficult for you
well,
specifically?
it gives me empathy uh, in terms of why it's hard for a lot of people to really sleep, even if we know the science of sleep and the no importance of it. Like it's funny how we're still me at least, and it seems like yourself too, is still having challenges of like not having good sleep. So part of the challenge is it's easy. It's easy to just not do. Like it's the one thing that's the most important in our recovery or our lives almost.
Mm,
But we can if we consider it a bank of 8 hours, it's the easiest one to withdraw from.
yeah.
Just keep doing stuff, whatever you want to do, work, read, watch YouTube. It's like, and then you'll sleep when you sleep, when you wake up. I think it's easy where it's like the detriments of it we won't see later down the line, or a lot of people won't, right? Think about college and whatever the case may be. So I don't know. It's not as evident in terms of the detriments of it in the short term, other than feeling tired. But then that's why freaking supplements are
Just blasting
exist. But anyway,
stimulants.
because I'm with it, right? So I don't know. It's funny. It just gives me empathy of like, okay, I get it. I get
Yeah, oh yeah.
why these people are not sleeping, including myself. And for me, I'm just trying to okay, let me lock back in. And I don't know. I read somewhere of like the most simple cue: go to sleep on time.
Yeah.
Right? It shifted my thoughts because it's always been let me try to wake up on time, and that
Yeah.
hasn't been working. So yeah, that's my thing in the routine is like let me just go to sleep on time. Like that's all I want to think about. That's all I need to do. And lately, it's been allowing me to wake up on time. I don't even need an alarm no more. So it's I don't know. What
There
are
you
your
go.
thoughts? What have you been
That's
doing
the
in
same thing
terms
for
of that?
me. I have no issue shutting down. Like
Mm,
I'm very like regimented in that way. I have no issue being like, yep, it's time for bed. Like I don't care what I'm watching or what I'm doing. Like I'm not looking at my phone. I'm good with that stuff. But it's been for me, it's been consistent. Like trying to get super, super consistent, just playing around with what that feels like. So try to legit do, within 30 minutes, like same time sleep, same time wake up. And I guess, saying that out loud, like being super rigid doesn't actually make a ton of sense from like a physiological standpoint.
what do you mean?
Like why would the human body need to wake up at the exact same time and the exact same time, or go to sleep at the exact same time every day and go to wake up in the morning at the exact same time every morning? Like That's not how anything else in the human body works. So like, why would sleep work that way? But like within a bandwidth, I'm trying to like get consistent with my sleep schedule. More so on the weekends, like try to really lock that stuff in. So even if I go to bed later, I've been playing around with still waking up at the same time and then probably just like taking a nap in that
Hmm.
afternoon if I need it, just to see like what that feels like and what that ends up either helping, hurting, subjectively,
Hmm.
objectively, what changes. So that's been the big thing for me sleep wise. Just trying to literally lock in.
Literally, literally locked in. No, I
Literally,
like
like
that.
literally locking in.
I know you don't like to believe in evolutionary biology, but I think
I
those.
believe in evolutionary biology. I
Do
hate when
you?
people. Yes, that's the only answer.
Wait,
Yeah.
I don't know. You. I think we talked about it offline, maybe somewhere
No,
where you're
no,
like,
no, no, no. Let's set the record straight here. Let's set the record straight here. You're trying to make me out to be some sort of conspiracy theorist. I believe in evolutionary biology, but I hate when people take our ancestors
okay,
and be like, this is why women should be cooking in the kitchen or like some like dumb shit like that. Be like, well, our ancestors' feet look like this, so our feet should look like this too. It's like, no,
okay,
we live wildly different lives. Like,
right.
or like when people be like, yeah, well, there was no heart disease in, 20 BC when we were hunter gatherers. Everyone died when they were like 17, bro. Like there was a lot of other issues. They didn't have time for heart disease because they were dead, because they died. They couldn't get heart disease. They didn't have the opportunity because they were dead,
Oh man,
because they were
what do
eating
you
dirt,
what do you call
sticks,
that? Cognitive
cognitive
dissonance.
dissonance.
We just try to find a reason somewhere
Yeah.
else. How do you define that again?
It's what when you can hold two competing thoughts at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. We always do it, man. We always do it. And I say that because of what you mentioned with like the whole sleeping on time. Like for me, it makes sense from a evolutionary biology standpoint. If the sun went down,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
we
it
go
like
down,
literally
and
lines up with like cycles of our
yeah,
body. It lines up with hormonal release, like 1000%. I'm just saying it's not strict. Like there's no way it's
right.
10 p.m.,
It's
6 a.m.
communicated. It's communicated as
Yeah.
being strict, but I think that's because
But
of
I get that.
I don't know.
It's
I
easier
want to
to
think about
adhere
that
to
more.
if you know what I
Yeah,
mean? If you know. It's the same thing with calories. Like you don't need the
that's true.
same amount of calories every day, right? That doesn't make sense. There's a range, but also it's
Mm,
like that's confusing and impossible to track. So
mm.
it's like, hey, for let's say JT, for you specifically, for maintenance, you need 2,500 calories every day. Is that right? No. Is it helpful?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Right. And it's like,
yeah.
let's just, they
That's a
just,
good point.
you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things, but I do
Mm.
believe in evolutionary biology.
I'm just
Don't get
okay. Thank you for clarifying.
it, get
That
it
makes sense, though. I think people
twisted.
respond to certain numbers differently. Right? I think people respond to ranges
Yeah.
differently, and people respond to specific numbers. So that's a good call out there. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
On nutrition, though, that's the other thing I've added is just eating a lot more carbs and trying to, at the very least, generally know where I'm at there. Who would have thought that eating as much carbs as you need for activity is really good for you and your activity performance?
Why are you increasing?
I just been training, been playing a bunch of tennis, been doing a lot of
Mm,
brain work during the day. Need
yeah,
carbs for that too. So it's just like, and I haven't been really tracking. I haven't like I eat like I don't know a pretty varied diet. Like I know I'm getting like a good mixture of fruits and vegetables. I know I'm getting generally enough protein. But as far as carbs go, I was just kind of just going off a feel and really I tend to, when I do that, I tend to really undereat them.
mm,
So now it's just been, let me shoot for, 300-400 carbs a day, depending on activity, and make sure I'm, pushing it like or make sure I'm structuring them around activity, like before and after. And it's
what kind of carbs?
been whatever. I'm really not a stickler.
Mm,
I eat a lot of jasmine rice. But I mean, I'm not above eating Pop Tarts and cereal
mm.
around playing tennis or training. I eat a lot of sourdough bread. Yeah, but I'm I'm not a carb stickler. I'll eat literally any carb.
Man, that's been my whole diet past 2 weeks when I was in Italy, man. I just had 2 croissants every morning, some pasta in the evening. I'm like, man, by day 6, I'm like, I don't want to eat any more croissants. I don't want to eat any more pasta. I just want to bite a cow. I need to
Eat
go
some
to the
meat.
farm. I'm gonna bite a cow right off the farm right now. I'm like, I need some protein. I like that though. It's interesting. Because when you mentioned brain work, that's something too I've been trying to do better with. We've kind of been the theme of earlier of what we were talking about with energy expenditure. You know,
Mm.
they talk about task switching, and not to do it, and because they give reason, or they, as in like what I've been reading. Like, there's a lot of reasons that they mentioned not to do it, and a lot of them didn't really, I guess, resonate with me until I really felt the energy. Like, when you do task switch, like, your energy is reduced because you're literally making decisions from two different things. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to organize the cognitive tasks throughout my week a little bit better. Like, for example, if I'm trying to go return something from Amazon, if I need to go do some laundry, like, these things I don't really need to think about. I'm trying to make that, or put all of that into like one day, one time block, so I don't have to like be doing different types of switching within the hour. So if I'm just locking in with a podcast, I'm just doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to play around with that. That way I'm not like fucking gasped at the end of the day because I'm just doing like so many different things and I haven't even done one thing. So
no, I feel that. I think that's something that everyone could take and throw around. Like, at least try to
try it. It's
batch
called
that stuff a
batching.
little bit more.
Yeah, it's called batching. If you're not familiar with it, whoever's listening, might save a lot of energy. That's the theme. But yeah, man, it's always learning. We're always learning.
Just keep trying. Try new stuff. See if it works. See if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then try something else. But damn.
There
you have it. There you have it.
There you have it.
Some things to try, some things to experiment. But I think we shut it down there. JT, where can people find you?
On IG, I gotta think about it sometimes. CoachT.HP. Hit me up.
There you go. You can find me on IG at Nashville. You can find this show on IG and YouTube at Pushin Performance with no G. If you like the boys, you like the show, please leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a little bit of a review. Share it with a friend. And as always, we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.